welcome back to another Outdoor Philosophy. So we're going to continue in our series talking about motivation working from home, how to make it on your own when you're working from home. And this is the question that a friend asked that got me thinking about the series. How do you actually motivate yourself? All right, so you want to work at home, you want to establish some type of job. How do you motivate yourself? Well, there's a few tips and there's a few issues. One of the major issues is that there's really no one solid way to say, absolutely, this is it, this is the way you do it. And there's no steps that you can take. It's not like goal setting is a step. You can sit there and do goals. And I encourage you to start there. Do some goals. Do some goal setting. I did an entire Outdoor Philosophy series on goal setting and focus. I'll go ahead and link that playlist here. I think that's on my other channel. But what we find is that goal setting is good because at least it identifies the goal and the purpose and the process, what you're going to attempt to do as you do this. So that's really one of the steps to do, is to start with there so that you can be constantly reviewing your goals. And hopefully, I think that that's probably the best thing of motivation. Review these goals, look at your goals, set your goals what they are. Now, we're not here talking about goal setting today. I'll defer to the other series on that kind of stuff. But number one is set some solid goals and break them down, of course. Hey, let's talk about goal setting a little bit. Break them down into, where do you want to see your business or your endeavor in 1 year from now, in 6 months from now, in 3 months from now, in 1 month from now, and the end of this week. Break it down into noticeable chunks. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you build a business? One day at a time. And that's the thing, is you got to start with what is important today to get the goal done and motivating yourself. Now, number two is you need to figure out, and we'll talk more about having a home office later, but you want to figure out where you want to work and you want to find out how to minimize your distractions. If you are constantly distracted by videos or music or television or a phone or whatever it happens to be, you got to figure out how to block those distractions. If it's your cell phone blocks the distractions, put it into, first go into your phone and turn off all notifications except, if you text, and again, only text with important people. If your texts are constantly causing you to beep and look at your phone, that's a major distraction. And we are way too distracted by our technology these days. So turn off notifications where you can. Set yourself, every hour I'll go look at the phone and see if I missed something. But, you might leave your phone calls on. If you do have certain people that need to communicate with texts that are important, you can set those as priority. And basically either put your phone kind of across the room or in another room. So you might be able to hear it if a phone call comes through that might be important. But it won't necessarily distract you from everything else. So weed away those distractions. Of course, if it's a TV that distracts you, don't put your office near a TV. There's a simple thing to do. And some of us are more distracted by these things than others. So you got to figure out what works for you. But the overarching principle is focus on those goals first, minimize distractions second. And then number three, you want to move on and just think about the tasks you need to accomplish. It ties right into that goal setting. And what do you need to do to break it down? So some people will say, don't keep your email client turned on because it'll constantly beep at you. I do keep mine on throughout the day, but I've set a work schedule where half of my day I can accept interruptions, the other half of my day I don't want interruptions. And so I've set up my work schedule to work around that general viewpoint. And so with that being said, you want to figure out what it's going to take to get your work and your projects and your tasks done. If that means turning off, the emails, just like the phones, just like the notifications, turning those off, do it. If that is a welcome thing, what you're doing, you might want to keep it on. And so set times where you are available on those resources and set times when you're not. The next thing I would say is give yourself regular breaks and rewards. Every hour, maybe 2 hours, hour and a half, whatever it happens to be, stop, get up, walk around, go do something, look at the phone, take a drink of water, do something for just a few minutes, come right back to it and just hit it again. Ultimately, the one thing that breaks motivation is you just got to sit down and do it. You got to get past your chronic procrastinitis. All right, chronic procrastinitis. Just procrastinating. Stop procrastinating. Figure out the schedule that works best for you. This is another one. A lot of people have all these things, get up at 5 in the morning and you're going to be way more productive. Guys, the only ultimate thing is that people can agree on is that we need to get our full spectrum of sleep. Make sure you're getting enough sleep for your body. 7, 8 hours a night, maybe 9, maybe 6 to 9, whatever that happens to be. It doesn't matter when you wake up. It really doesn't. The time you wake up bears nothing on what you accomplish. Okay, I get a lot done. I usually wake up somewhere between 9 and 11, but I'm working until 4 in the morning. The early bird didn't get the worm I was after because I already ate it by being a night owl. All right, so you got to figure that out. But for me, I've always worked well at night. I've always liked night. I've always liked the cover of darkness. I've just been that type of person. And so for me, it makes natural sense. So I actually work my business as a second shift. So I get up in the morning and the first half of the day is mine. I don't go into the office. I check emails just on the phone. But again, I don't have the phone constantly checking emails and binging it if an email comes through. All of my emails on my phone are set to manually check, which means that I will only hear beep notifications if I've actually physically picked up the phone and checked emails. So I use the phone to check the emails in the morning just to make sure there's nothing emergency I need to run off to. But then the first half of the day is mine. And then around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I start getting into the office. And at about 2, I'll turn on the computers. And I'm rock solid working until 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And that's just kind of what I do. And then, of course, half of that is an overlapping day with how the rest of the world works. And so I'll get emails, I'll get phone calls, I'll get distractions, whatever else. And then I'll pause for dinner. After dinner, I come back up. I will not see any more emails. I will not have any more phone calls because it's like 10 o'clock at night by this point in time. And from 10 o'clock at night until 2 in the morning is power time for me. And that's kind of what you need to figure out. So you might be a night owl. You might be a person that thrives in waking up at 5 in the morning and getting a whole lot of stuff done before anyone else wakes up the house. That's cool too. Just don't buy into you gotta wake up in the morning to get stuff done. You got to figure out what is the process for you. And I've experimented with this. I thought, hey, we're going to be all professional. And there was a time I woke up early in the morning to an alarm clock. I got up, I got my exercise done. I'm in my office at 9 a.m. and I'm working until like 5 or 6. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, well, now what do? Well, you just sit there and waste away the day. So what I did is I decided to kind of mess around with that schedule and say, what works best for me? And when you can figure out when is the most productive time for you, that's how you will get the motivation to work. All right. Maybe it's hardcore, maybe more of a negative motivation, but think about what's going to happen if you don't get your work done. Do you want to drag on through life being thrown upon by what life wants to throw, or do you want to go and happen to life? If you go happen to life, man, you get up, you go on and do the things you want to get done. At the end of the day, you can put your head on that pillow late at night. You can rest, be relaxed, and go, look at all that stuff I accomplished. There's a lot that can be said for that. So ultimately, motivation to work just boils down to what do you need to do? Do you have a plan in place? Have you eliminated distractions? And do you have a direction you would like to go? So focus on that, and that is the greatest way to motivate yourself. So we'll have some other tips like, how to build a home office and things like that. Other stuff down the road here. But hopefully this helped you out, and I hope that you join us next time for another edition of The Outdoor Philosophy.